Welcome. We're recording now. Um, Earning £1,000 plus a month. Love it. The amount of people on this call. How exciting! um, so what I thought is I think sometimes it can feel like it's a million miles away and impossible. And I know because I've been there myself. So I thought, okay, let's go over it and just see what we think about, what you need to be doing, if you're already doing it already, all different things. So one of the first things I want you to do is, and this is one of the hardest things, is about the belief that it's possible. And I think when your commissions haven't been where you want them to be, it's really, really hard to start to imagine that can happen. So I thought, right, okay, how can we start to believe it's possible? And I went back to when I was about to go, so in the December, as I made a conscious decision that I was fed up of being Ruby, and I wanted to go Emerald, to go Diamond. I was going to make it happen. And I did a lot of coaching and personal development over the Christmas to New Year period. And one of the books I read was a NLP book. So NLP is about conditioning your brain and conditioning your mind. And one of the things that it pointed out was for you to identify what had happened or what was possible. And one of the key things that I identified was with regards to have you, the 400 group volume. Because this is what we all find, we all come across it, and you think to yourself, how are people going to do this 400 group volume? Because we find more people that don't do it than what do. That's just the way it goes, isn't it? So one thing that I did is I sat there and I thought to myself, okay, have I achieved 400 group volume? And everybody on this call has achieved at some point, whether you've gone on to promote or not, but at some point you've achieved being a 400 group volume yourself. So we know it's possible. We know we can do it. We know it's not some freak thing that, only happens every so often, because you've done it, so you can teach others to do it. Just because you haven't found the next person who's willing to be taught how to do it doesn't mean they're not out there. It just means you've not found them yet. So once you've got in your head that you can achieve that 400 group volume because you've done it, and a lot of you here have had people underneath you have done it. So Charlene, you've had 2 people underneath you that have done it, with a little bit of help, admittedly, but it still happened. Shana's hit Ruby, so she's had people underneath to do it. Louisa's hit Ruby, so she's had people underneath to do it. Bee's hit Ruby, so she's had people underneath to do it. Tracy's hit Ruby, so she's had people underneath to do it. And Dawn has hit Executive. So there is only Tracy on the call who hasn't had somebody underneath her do it, but I think your husband was pretty close. And you personally have achieved 400 group volume. So you were a 400 group volume for Julie's Ruby. So you still know that it's possible. So once we know that is the building block, okay, that's possible. What then? So the next step, and this is a little bit, so I'm going to need your audience participation. I can't say participation, but you don't have to say anything, so don't worry, you can still stay muted. But you're going to close your eyes and you're going to say to yourself, I will earn £1,000 a month in commissions by payday January 2017. So shut your eyes and say that. Okay. Now, when you say that, if you've got your eyes shut and you're listening really carefully, you will hear things being said. So all I've asked Rachel is for everybody to shut their eyes and to say, you can say it out loud if you're on mute, it might be more powerful yourself and say it out loud, but you're going to say, I will earn £1,000 a month in commissions by payday January 2017. And when you close your eyes and when you say it, there'll be a little voice, there's a little voice, a little gremlin voice that's going to say things like, well, you haven't done it so far. I can't even earn £500. I can't even recruit at the minute. And I want you to write down all of those little, what those little voices are saying. So just take a minute and I'll do it with you. I'll do it with you with my target. Okay. Okay. Oh, I like it. You've all writing. Keep pushing it, Louise. Hey, keep pushing, Louise. If you close your eyes again, there'll be even more. There'll be more little voices. Okay. So those little voices, that little gremlin that's there, that's what's called your limiting beliefs. Okay. So I'll share mine. So I've put, I haven't done it yet. I'm not strong enough. I don't know how. I can't even do the steps to success myself every month, let alone teach others. I don't deserve it. I've never earned that type of money. And I just, this is just part of me thinks, is it ever possible for me? So they're mine. And they are your limiting beliefs. So they're what? They hold you back. So every time you think about what you want to achieve, when those little thoughts pop up, they hold you back. Now, what you should do is you should look at them and say, thanks for that, but I'm not going to listen to you any longer. I'm not going to listen to those things any longer. And you can screw it up. So this is your limiting beliefs, Janine. Don't worry, we can do this as a different exercise for you. But basically, you've thought about earning £1,000 a month in commissions, as you close your eyes and think about that, there'll be little thoughts that pop into your head. There's a little gremlin voice, and you write down, so you can do this afterwards, you write down what that little gremlin voice is saying, and that is basically what is holding you back. And I can't say that you won't ever hear them again after you've done this, because they will, but you have to learn to ignore them. You have to just completely learn to ignore them, because it is entirely possible for people to earn this money with the business. Okay, so even my thing, I know it is possible. And is it possible for me? Well, of course it is. You know, I don't suppose there's anybody that's got to earning either 1,000 or more that's thought, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that so easy, and it's gonna be, you know, really straightforward to get it. Well, they might have done when they first joined, like I did. And then you soon realise, okay, so maybe this is a little bit tougher than what I thought it was. But it is entirely possible. You all know that there are people that are earning what you want to earn with the business. And if it's not happening, then it's basically about, you know, identifying why it's not happening. And what I realised is that I was very much in a place a few years ago, and I think we can slip into it very easily, in that, and I'm not there now, I've come out of this, but is that you can, you know, get into a blame culture. You can blame your team, you can be blaming the people that aren't working hard enough. I know, honestly, I did it. Before I hit Emerald and Diamond, I was very bitter towards, you know, people who were in the team and I didn't think was working it hard enough. And I was probably focusing on that rather than what had been achieved and what was possible. So, and, you know, my team were reflecting me, basically. So, yeah, so look at your limiting beliefs, know that they're not true, and they're certainly not fact. Okay, so none of those things that you've wrote down are a fact. They are just a belief. They're just a belief that you've got, that you've built up over time because of, you know, whatever that's happened. You know, everybody's been through stuff, and that's where they've come from. So, if you've achieved your 400 groat volume. I can't remember where I was going with this, but I've wrote, it is a possible thing. Oh, I know what I was saying. So I've wrote, if your beliefs, limiting beliefs, are anything to believe, then you're not actually that special. Because you've just wrote down that you're this, that and the other, and you're not this and you're not that, and yet you've managed to achieve 400 group volume. And, you know, a number of you have managed to achieve executive and Rubik. So if you can do it with all those limiting beliefs that you've just read and negative things that you've said about yourself, then it is quite possible for others to do it, isn't it? And it is just all about finding them. It really is just about finding them. And I just, when I went through my office and I was looking at my stuff, and it still amazes me, really. I think to myself, Jesus, if I can get to triple and then I can get Neil to Emerald, then all of you guys can achieve anything. You really, really can. It's all there for the taking. And you just have to believe that you can. You have to believe in the products, which I think we all do. I think believing in the opportunity can sometimes be a little bit like, especially if you've been in a while and you're stuck in a rut. But we know the opportunity's there. We know it's real. We see people all the time who have, you know, who've made what they want to happen with the business. So if you are struggling with your belief on anything, and it could well be it's your belief in yourself, then, you know, let's work on personal development with that. So, you know, identify it, do a bit of research yourself. If you don't want to share with anybody else, you know, what you're struggling with regards to belief in yourself, you know, you might not feel comfortable with that. That's fine. But there's so many different things that you can do. There'll be things that you can do online for free. There'll be books that you can download to Kindles that are like £2 often on Kindles and iPads. So do a little bit of research, and let's, you know, work on that personal development, because I know that when I did that between that Christmas period when I worked on me and I read some books, and they probably weren't actually the best books really to read, but I think anything that, you know, tells you it's going to help build your confidence will help with regards to this. You can't really go that far wrong with it. And another thing I'd recommend is, this is in particular with regards to belief in the opportunity. And if I'm feeling a little bit like, oh, I don't know, is this, you know, am I ever going to be able to help these people get to where they want to get to? If I listen to the Tuesday night Show Me the Money calls, now they go back for months and months and months, and sometimes they have like two, so it's Pam Souder, and she'll have like 2 or 3 presidentials or ambassadors on there, and they'll all have very different types of stories. And when you listen to those calls and you hear, especially if you listen to a couple over the course of a week or 2 weeks, you'll hear all these different types of people and their stories, and there'll be stuff that you can relate to. And that's really, really important, because that really does help with your belief when you hear from people. And sometimes you can think, oh, you know, how's it going to help me hearing from somebody who's at, you know, this level when I'm, you know, just wanting to get to Ruby or whatever, or executive. But it really does help. So that's the first thing, is work on your belief and work on yourself, and get that nailed, because it's well worth spending a couple of days, if you're not feeling in the best of places, to do that, because it will really help you. So then I started to think, okay, so you've got your belief sorted, you've got your mindset sorted with regards to the belief. The next thing is your mindset with regards to what you're going to do. And this is really interesting, actually, because Fee was saying to me today, we were chatting about her going for Emerald, and she said, so what am I best to do, face-to-face or messaging or live? I was like, all of it. just all of it. And I shared with Fee that what I found was, when I was going for my Emerald, I worked harder for my Emerald than I did for my Diamond, because going for Ruby, and I'm not saying it's easy, because obviously there's people on here not at Ruby yet, and it's not easy, but you need one worker. So you get one worker who you can work with, and the other 2 can be, you know, a little bit airy-fairy, getting to 400. You know, even if they only get halfway, you can sort of help them get the full way. When you go for Emerald, and all of a sudden you go from needing just one person who's a little bit of a worker to 2 people who are proper worker bees. Me and Rachel were talking about this at boot camp. It's like a bigger jump. It's like a bigger jump, because you're going from just that one little person who's giving it a bit of a go, to 2 people who are really quite focused. So that's your big jump, okay? And when you get there, when you get to Emerald, you've already got your 2 workers, you've got your ruby leg sorted, one of your rubies for diamond, and so you've got your person who is the strong, really going to go for it, and they have the big jump to go from ruby to emerald, and you're going to help them with that, but it's them that has that. You're sort of working, you know, and you've probably done a lot of work on your 400 legs already for your emerald, so you're only really 400 legs short. So that's a big jump. It's a big jump from ruby to emerald. And the truth is, you really do just have to do everything. So when I look back as to, you know, when I was making those jumps, I was like, right, okay, so what did I do? And I always remember Denise Walsh saying that when Cami Dempsey used to say to her, try this, she just said yes to everything. And that's really the biggest tip I can give to people. If there's a training, you listen to it, whether that be on the night, and I know people have working commitments and everything, but you know, whether that's on the night or afterwards, you listen. You know, my trainings were from people in America, so I very rarely could get online, but I still got what I needed from listening afterwards. If somebody said, I reckon, you know, here's a book that I think could help you, you read it. If somebody says, here's a message that I think's working, you send it. If somebody says, here's a text that I've been using, you send that. If somebody says, this post works well, you post it. If somebody says, this is the way you gain followers, you know, every single thing, you just do it. I know with me, it was, you know, that you need to have friends. Okay, I'll add them. Here's an online party that's happening. I was on it, and these were American online parties a lot of the time. So in reality, what I did is I saw them and thought, right, okay, well, that's not going to work from the timeline, so I just did it myself. But the basic gist is you just do everything. So everything that somebody says, you know, if somebody says to you, live videos work or videos work, you try it. Here's a free website. So we've recently in the Walsh organisation been given free websites, and I know a lot of you have used them. Just use it. You know, that's still available, by the way. So if anybody hasn't used that yet, we can get you do it. You know, you've all been in the situation. Somebody said to you, have a launch party, you did it. You need to write a hundreds list, you do it. Suggestion of MailChimp. It is just literally everything that is put in front of you, you try it. And, you know, as I was going through this, because obviously, you know, we've got, you know, Louise and Tracy who work full-time, and Janine who works part-time, and Rachel who works part-time as well. Shara, I'm not sure if you work. And that could feel overwhelming, okay? But don't let it. I'm not saying that in one day you have to do every single one of those things. It's just, if you see a suggestion for something that can grow your business, you work out when you can try it, okay? So I don't want anybody to come away from this thinking like they've got to work 24 hours a day, because that's, you know, it's not possible, and you're not going to find it fun, and it's not going to work. You know, you do what you can do. Obviously, we want you to be consistent. So, you know, try and do something every single day. You know, even if it's only 10 minutes of sending, you know, messages to beauticians first thing in the morning, and you know, sticking a post on Facebook. But the general gist is, and where I got to is just, I really did just say yes to everything. And it struck me when Denise Walsh said that about with Cami, because I thought, you know, if somebody said to me, oh, there's an event coming up, do you fancy it? You would just try. You'd just try and be there. it doesn't mean that you're probably going to have to sacrifice a few things. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That's something that you might need to do. You might look at things and go, do you know what, actually that's on a night when there's team training, or that's when there's a night when there's an online party, and try and work around it. And what I'd say to you is imagine that, and Rachel, this is the case for you, imagine that you are responsible for hosting it for your team, and that unless you're on it, so no matter how rubbish you feel, no matter what else comes up, unless you are on it, then your team's not going to have that. So even though, for a lot of us, I do the team trainings, or the online parties are set up, or all these other different things. Just imagine for a minute that I wasn't hosting it. Take responsibility, even if you're just going on and doing a little bit of something. Take responsibility for being on it as if I wasn't there. Or if you'd rather do your own, do them. You don't have to be on mine. If actually for you to feel like you are responsible means you need to be responsible, then do it. Because the minute you take on that responsibility, whether it be in your head as to being on there, or that you want to do it for yourself, then I think that will be, it makes a big difference, because that's a diamond mindset. And I didn't want to talk about going diamond with regards to £1,000, because the reality is going diamond doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get it, and it's a rank, and it can be, you can gain it and you can lose it. So it's not about that. This is about an income and what you need for that income. And I think that sometimes, hopefully that would be more powerful. I know it drove me. I only wanted to be diamond because of the income that it brought, really. Because I needed it to pay the bills. So I hope that was helpful. And I hope I really didn't want anybody to come off this call feeling like it was a judgmental thing. I just wanted to probably sow some seeds from a mindset perspective. And I hope it motivated rather than made you all think, piss off, Mel. We're working hard enough. Did you say, yeah, it did?
No, I said thank you.
Yeah, don't bother calling me tomorrow. You can piss off now. But oh, God. I think it's just...